Here we are learning about, this is the Dvar Malchut. This is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the end of 1991, Tavshin Nun Beit. And it's speaking mostly about the second Rebbe of Chabad. The second Rebbe of Chabad was the son of the first Rebbe of Chabad. And he was a very, very holy, incredibly uh, genius person, like his father was. And he was also put into jail, like about 20 years, something like that, after his father was put into jail and released on very similar charges. He was trying to make a war against the government. He was stealing money. It was whatever it is, false charges from his, and he was put into prison also. Okay, so he was born on the 9th day of Kislev, and he died also on the 9th day of Kislev. Passed away also on the 9th day of Kislev. How much later? What was it? I forgot. 50 years later, something like that. 50 years later. Can we read it? Just one moment to see? I think it was 50 years later. We'll look it up later. Anyway, he passed away on the exact same date, on the 9th day of Kislev, and on the 10th day of Kislev, which that happened to be 1 year before he passed away. The 10th day of Kislev, a little bit, 1 day short of a year before he passed away. The 10th day of Kislev, he was released from prison. So he was released from prison on the 10th day of Kislev, and he was on his way back from his father's grave to celebrate the first anniversary, but he passed away before, and the day before that, he passed away. Okay, so it says, regarding the 10th day of Kislev by the Rebbe, I mean, maybe it came out the same way as no. Anyway, this year by us, the 9th day of Kislev is going to come out on Shabbat. And that's the way it was back then. The 9th day of Kislev was on Shabbat, the day that he was born and passed away. Right, Shabbat. And the 9th day. So it's regarding the second Rebbe of Chabad, the one whose birthday, and the one who passed away on this day, on the 9th day of Kislev. So we find something new, of something unusual, that the day that he was born is the date that he passed away, the same date. But and also another novelty by him, that immediately the day after he was born was Yud Kislev, which that became later on the day that he was released from prison. That he was released from prison. Okay, so it's known that the holidays of the year have a connection to the Torah portion which they are in. Give me one moment. Torah portion which they are in. Give me one moment. I think that this we have over here. What do we have over here? So a second. No, it's not here. Thought the Rebbe's, the list of the Rebbe's is not here. Okay. Okay, now the Rebbe's of Chabad are not just, Chabad itself is not just a one movement among the many movements in Chabad, or a religious movement within the religious movements of Chabad. Chabad took it on itself to bring Moshiach, and Moshiach is going to change the whole entire world. So Chabad, we can say, is a movement, a universal movement to fulfill the purpose of Judaism. And the leader of that movement is the Rebbe. He has a special talent, a special aptitude, and also a special blessing, a different type of a person, that his only consuming desire and ability is to fix up the world and prepare the world for Mashiach. Like it says, the Maimonides say, to fight the battles of God. Fight the battles of God. So the first Rebbe, everything that happens, every moment in creation is meaningful. And whether we know it or not, whether we think it or not, is everything, every moment is meaningful. And the Rebbe's are people that demonstrated this, that every moment was meaningful and it was essential for this goal of perfecting the world, making the world a good, holy, happy, meaningful place, healthy. So every moment of the Rebbe's life, especially when there are special occasions, the date that the Rebbe was born, the date that the Rebbe passed away. The date the Rebbe was born and passed away was the 10th day of Kislev, which that's going to be next week, Sunday. And the day that he was released, the day that he was born and the day the day that he was born and the day they passed away is the 9th day of Kislev. That's going to be this coming Shabbat. And the day he was released from prison, that's the 10th day of Kislev. Okay. According to what is known, that the holidays of the year have a special connection to the Torah portion in which they are read. So it's understood that a parsha of this Shabbat, which is Vayetze, that's what we're learning, and Vayishlach will be read in Mincha of this Shabbat, that in them Yochlim Limitzol we can find something which is attached to this great, important, essential man, the second Rebbe of Chabad, the fact that the day that he was born and the day that he passed away is on the same day, on the 9th day. Okay, just give me one moment. I want to take a short break here. Good. All right, so we've learned that the second Rebbe of Chabad was born on the same date and passed away on the same date. The Rebbe says this is tremendous significance. I mean, at first glance, you can say, what type of tremendous significance can it possibly have? Just one second. What significance? I mean, everybody has to be born sometime. I mean, I'm not that big of a statistician, how do you call it? Anyway, what are the odds that a person will be born on the same day as he passed away? What's the odds? I don't know. I mean, it's pretty small, but there still is odds. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world, 9 billion people in the world. There are some odds that a person will be born on the same day. I'm looking for the exact age. Okay. There are some odds that he'll be, that it could happen. In any case, what is so special about this? I say it's not here. All right, I'll find this. I'll find it later. It was like 50 years, 52 years, something like that. And this said 52 years later or something, he passed away. Okay, mainly, let's find some sort of a lesson that we can learn from that's timely and important message regarding to our time and our and to today, that the second Rebbe of Chabad was born and passed away on the same date. And especially, how is this going to help in the purpose of Chabad, which is to bring the Geula Amitit V'Shlema, the total redemption by means of the Moshiach, Kafisha Dubar, like it was spoken many, many times, that now we've already finished everything we have to do. But all we have to do is just receive the face of the Moshiach actually. The Rebbe talked about that last week, which means that everything you do, you don't have to do that much differently. Maybe you should do more good things, but it should be done with the idea that this is going to help bring Mashiach. When you do that, also, it becomes a little bit more difficult to get angry, because getting angry at people doesn't help bring Mashiach, or to cheat, or to lie, or to get depressed. Getting depressed doesn't help bring Mashiach. Or to hate someone, or to say negative things. But really thinking about Mashiach, those things don't help bring Mashiach. So that's one way, just to prepare yourself and everyone around you, because it's supposed to happen every second. All the work and all the suffering and all the necessary trials and tribulations have already passed. So let's learn something from this fact that the second Rebbe of Chabad was born and passed away on the same day to help us to bring Moshiach, to accept Moshiach, to receive Moshiach. The novelty in this, that the day of the birth, his birthday, and the passing day come on the same day, this will be explained by the saying of the rabbis about Moses. Moses also was born on the same date that he passed away, the 7th day of Adar. Right near the end of the Torah, it says, Moses says, Ben Me'ah ve'esrim shana anochi hayom. I am 120 years old today. Omer Gemara, the Gemara says, Ma Talmud Lomer hayom. What does it mean? I am 120 years today. Today is filled. This is what Moses was saying. Today was filled exactly my days and my years. To teach you that God sits and he fills the years of the tzaddikim from day to day, from month to month, like it says, as mispar yomecha amalei, like it says, your numbers of days I will fill. Where does it say this? Here, let's have a look. See, in Mishpatim, this is like near the beginning of the book of Exodus. More near the middle, I guess. I will fill you, there's a blessing. Okay, I mean, a person might think, what do you have to die at all? Why die at all? What's the big thing about that? Unless, so you died on the same day he was born. I got a better idea. Let's not die at all. What do you have to have death in the world for? So the answer to that question is that soon there won't be any death. The fact is, it's a good question, because the fact of the matter is soon there won't be any such thing as death. But all the time that we are, and have not yet, the Moshiach has not yet come and built the Holy Temple, and the Jews are in Israel, after that is going to be the raising of the dead. Even though it says that certain individuals can raise from the dead beforehand. There were stories in the Talmud about it. Nevertheless, it says that your number of days in the world, from the day you were born until the day you die, will be complete. Not one day will be too much, not too little. A pirush b'zeh means simply, she'etzel tzaddik, by a person who is a tzaddik. A tzaddik is a person, a Jew, that every instant of his life is devoted only to what God wants. By a tzaddik, yesh shleimus, there is completion. That God, mamaleh, he fills all the days of his life. And mispar yomecha yamaleh, the numbers of your days of your life I will fill. Sheyichiyeh mispar shanim, you will live the number of days. How do you say an exact number of days? It'll be complete, full, like a circle is full, right? It's full. The end meets the meaning. In other words, miyom oldoto, to the day that he was born until the day that he passes away, ad tzaddik shall ad tzaddik ad diuk. I'm sorry, ad diuk exactly till the very day that he was born. So it's like a circle, right? Exactly that same day that he was born comes all the way around and goes back to that same day he passes away. So that's what it says. The days of your life I will fill. This shows on a complete, some sort of a form of completion and wholesomeness that he passed away on the same day of it. Okay, let's explain. The Rebbe stated the fact. Now let's explain it. But we have to explain this. What's so great about dying at all? And just because he happens to be that he died on the same day he was born, so this is a big accomplishment. What type of especially a tzaddik. Now, a tzaddik is a person that it doesn't really make that much difference than when he dies. The whole idea of a tzaddik is supposed to be spiritual. The world doesn't have so much of an effect on him. This is not attached to all with how many physical days he lives in the world, whether it's one day or not. Now, 1 day, 2 days, every single instant of his life. So, and this is related to human beings also. A human being, if he lives, sometimes, God forbid, children pass away young. So you can say, okay, but every basically when a child dies, it's basically the same thing as a 120-year-old man dies. It says Adam kehevel domen. It's lehevel domen. It says Adam that lived 930 years is the same thing as Hevel that he lived. There's different opinions, 50 days, 90 days, whatever. And it's the same thing because every day, every good deed you do is above time. And at Tzaddik, everything he does is above time. So if it's above time, what is it so important which day he died on? Every second of his life is eternal. Every second of our life is eternal if we do good things. Why is it so important? The day is exactly the date that he passed away. Says tzaddikim are spiritual people, like it says chaye tzaddik. The life of a tzaddik is not physical life, but is spiritual, namely faith, fear, and love of God. That's all he's interested in. He's not interested in anything else. It doesn't mean he goes up into the mountains and he sits and he doesn't get married. He gets married and he has children. And he has it because that's what God wants. He doesn't do what he wants. He wants to sit up in a mountain and reach some sort of ecstasy or whatever it is. That's what he wants, but that's not what God wants. God wants you to be married. He wants to be in the world. And then he wants you to make the world and yourself holy. That's a big challenge. It's very difficult. And the tzaddikim stand in the challenge. They do it. So that everything they do in this world is not really connected so much to the world as it is connected to what God wants in the world. So why is it so important if their whole being is spiritual? So it's understood that by a tzaddik it can be shlemot avoda, a complete spiritual, godly service, even if he lives for one day, even if he lives for 1 year. Afilu kasher shonatov, even if his physical years are not filled from day to day. It comes the same day that he died. He was born, he died. Like we can see, it's a role of tzaddikim, majority of the tzaddikim in the world, right? Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai and all the Rebbes of Chabad, etc., except for this Rebbe, that they all passed away on a different day than the day where they were born. So it means that they're missing something. Arizal. Yeshlam can say, the complete service of a tzaddik is the spiritual service is reflected also in physical world. Shlemut bezman avodato. Okay, like we said, in Judaism, this world is the goal. So even though the tzaddikim are very spiritual, what does it mean that they're spiritual? That they work in the world motivated only spiritually. So maybe we can say that when their spiritual work is also reflected in the world, then that shows an unusual type of completion, wholesomeness. In the years and the days, the physical days, like the rabbis say, Yodei Hashem Yemei Tamimim, God knows the days of the Tamimim, of the wholesome ones. Kashem Shem Tamimim, just as they are wholesome and complete, also their years are wholesome and complete. Hatam Adavar, the reason is, Hatam Lazeh, the reason for this is, and since the Torah and mitzvahs, since the whole complete idea of a tzaddik doing Torah and commandments, that this is the service of a tzaddik, that it has to be complete in this physical world, since the service of a tzaddik is expressed in this, that he refines and he elevates his physical body, and in a way, she'ein shum chalakim, that there's no aspect of his physical body which is separated, which acts in a way independent of what God wants. That his service of God reaches every fiber of his body, physical body. God didn't put us in this physical world in order to get out of it. He didn't put us in this physical body in order to hate it. He put us in this physical body in order to transform it, to use it what it's supposed to be. Ein shum hefsek v'pira, there's no separation, shum hafrada, between the soul and his body, when spiritual and physical. But all the details in his life should be permeated with the spirit of his soul and his spirit, physical body. Until this physical body becomes tefillim secondary, and it becomes a vessel surrendered to his soul. Until the body just becomes a vessel for his spirituality, like a musician. Right? His instrument becomes a vessel for his music. Osim nafsham ikr, then the soul becomes the main thing, and the body becomes secondary. But often in a way, shekol agashment, that all of the physicality becomes just like a garment or a vessel or a garment for the spiritual. It becomes like a chariot, mishakefet umavatet, that it reveals and expresses the person who's riding in the chariot. His spiritual service is expressed in everything he does. So in other words, you're in the world, you don't do anything for yourself. That's the point. You don't do anything for yourself. What am I going to get out of it? You think, what does God want? So there's a very common thing in the world which is called bribery, right? Bribery. You slip a judge a couple dollars. You put, the judge looks in his bank account, and all of a sudden he sees there's a couple zeros over there. And you told him the day before that, you were going to do it. So all of a sudden his whole entire mind changes. He wants to think differently, right? What happened? Because he benefited. As soon as he got pleasure from his own benefit, then everything changed around. A tzaddik is a person that he never tries to benefit himself. Everything he's doing is only for what God wants. Of course, it's very tricky, right? Very tricky. You give a rabbi, slip him $1 million bribe, and he says, this is what God wants. Now I can make my yeshiva bigger. I can make my synagogue bigger. So it's very tricky, right? It's very, very, how do you say, delicate. But a tzaddik is a person that doesn't make any of these, doesn't sell out to anything, not just with money, also to himself. It doesn't look where he's not supposed to look. He doesn't have any desire to do so. That's a tzaddik. A tzaddik is a person that only desires to do what God wants, and that's expressed in his physical life. It says that the physical life of a tzaddik is not physical, it is spiritual. But his total service is when his spiritual service of God permeates and shines up also in his physical world. That's why all the 8 fathers of Judaism, they were all married. They had children. They had troubles with their children. They had to deal with the world. They had to make a living. And so it is all after. There's no example. Moses was married, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was married, and the Arizal was married. All the people in the Talmud, almost all of them are married. The ones that aren't are big exceptions. And that's why wouldn't they marry them? It says Ben Azai, he says he wasn't married. Until his physical life becomes like a vessel to God, and even more becomes like a continuation and an extension of his spiritual life. They become one with his spiritual being. Oh, so all of a sudden we're seeing that what happens in this physical world is not separate, or at least it's not supposed to be separate from the spirituality of a tzaddik. Exactly the opposite. This physical world is supposed to be a vehicle, a instrument, a vessel, what do you call it? Like a television, a radio that expresses what's inside of it. What's inside? But often in a way, shehem nasim davar echad mamash, they become one. One person. Sheshlemuto aruchnit b'chayim aruchnim mitpatet mishtakefet b'malao b'shlemut agashmin b'chayim brasrim. That suddenly his whole righteousness is only, the main purpose of it is to express it in the physical world. It's not just that he has children and he has a business and he has a congregation because that's what God wants him to do. He has a congregation and a spiritual this because that's him, that's his true being. His true being is to express what God wants in the physical world. Not just that he's forced to do it. This is an expression of who he really is. Just like a piano is an expression, or a violin of an artist. But often shechayim basarim, his physical life is not a separate thing from his physical life, and his physical life, and it's not missing anything, not more regarding the spiritual life. His physical life is just a continuation of his spiritual life. Oh, even more, only by means of this, that the soul is in a body, and the soul uses the body and expresses itself through the body. And it expresses itself in the world and changes the world. By means of this, there is an elevation. His soul also gets elevated. So the physical world becomes like a springboard for the soul. Okay. Look, and therefore God sits and he fills the years of the tzaddikim from day to day. Sense that the completion of the service of a tzaddik permeates and is expressed in the completion of his physical life. Fitting and commensurate with his spiritual service of God. It's not like two different things. Shari Geder Olam, this physical world, it can be divided into time, Murkav Mizman from time, and place. And it's divided into days, and it's divided into months, it's divided into years. Like the rabbis say, when God shows his world, so he set the beginnings of the months and years. He decided when it was going to be, months and years. I mean, really, what do you have to have time for? If you think about it, why can't there just be life? You just live. I mean, there's these primitive tribes. I don't know how primitive they are. Primitive tribes that they find in, Africa or somewhere, the Bushmen or something like that. I mean, you can correct me. I'm no anthropologist over here, but as far as a sociologist, whatever you call it. But as far as I know, they don't have tracks of time. They don't keep Shabbat or holidays or Yom Tov. They don't know. I know there's a lot of people in Russia, a lot of people, Jews also, I imagine it's for sure non-Jews, that they don't know what date they were born. They don't know what date they were born. They were born. Right? Their parents, we're talking about non-religious Jews. Non-religious Jews. They were born in families. They didn't know what date they were born. Not only that, the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, he started this thing of birthdays. That was only how long ago was it? 67 years ago he started it. Before that, people didn't even pay any attention to their birthday. Even religious Jews, they didn't pay attention to their birthday. They didn't have, cards that said how old you are, what are your age, your name, and where you live. So it wasn't important how many days you lived and exactly how old you are. It says, but the fact is that when God chose the Jewish people, and then he set certain days for Rosh Chodesh, that's the moon, and years, there's the seasons. When he chose Yaakov, when he created the world, he made days and months and years. But when he chose Jacob, he also said that there's going to be Rosh Chodesh El Geula. He said that there's going to be the first date of redemption, namely that the whole idea of setting time, years, is connected with God's world. The Nigud L'Kaviyot Rosh Chodesh Shel Geula. So when the world was created, the world existed like for 2,000, whatever it is, years. And there was years, there was seasons of the years. There was, people had to know for agriculture, what time of the year. And the months, imagine maybe they had feasts or whatever for their months. But that was connected to nature. As soon as God chose the Jewish people, Jacob, it says chose the Jewish people was Yisrael. Jewish people, then he made the months connected to the redemption. The month of redemption, months, days, years became holy. That's connected to Jacob. And then there suddenly became a spiritual connection in the physical world. Years, days, and months. Years, the word for year also means change. Shinoi, Melashan Mishana, Mishaneh, changing. Makifa v'kolelet b'toch kol shinui azman. This includes all the different seasons and times. And therefore, mitpatet shlemot avodah. This is the completion of service of a tzaddik. Ubezeh shegam shenotov. Also, his years are complete. And God Yoshev u'mamalei shenoteim. God sits and He fills the years of the tzaddikim from day to day. So suddenly, days and years are not just things of agriculture or convenience; they're things of godliness, of holiness. God created days and years so that as part of the world, so that we should put meaning into it. Kol yom, every day, we have to use bishlemuto and its completion, biru v'lavush, by means of refining this garment of time, which is called a day. Like it says, that if there is lacking one day in a person's life, there is lacking one garment for him in the world to come. The Yamei Adam, and the days of a person's life are set for him according to the garments that he made and that he has to make. That's the whole secret of reincarnation. So the completion of a tzaddik is spiritual. What he has to do is soul, but also what he has to do in the world. Days, years, physical. When they're equal, it comes to show that his soul and his body, that his purpose in the world and the world have become aligned one with the other. Hatamimus, that's a level of completion. Vishnei Chayav, in the years of his life, is one continuation of completion in service of God. Kashem Shehim Tamimim, Kach Shenotam Em Tamimim, just that like they are complete, so the days of their life are complete. So if you say that it's just a matter of convenience, everybody has to live, everybody has to die. So what's the big deal? You live, when you're born is not important. When you die is not important. Maybe the people of astrology, astrologers, they say it's a very important. When a person is born, that continues what your luck is going to be, and what quadrant you're going to be in this and that. Right? Will he be happy? Will I be rich? Will he be this? It's somewhat determined, as can be, and you say, detected in the day that you're born. The day that you're born is important. What difference does it make when you die? When you die, when you die, that's exactly the opposite. And when you die, it shows that the whole story is finished. There's no importance to that. Says the Rebbe, it's not so. A person is put into this world that every single day, every moment, every year should be full. And that's when a person completes his service and it ends up that it's actually in sync, the day that he is born, that exactly the date that he passes away, it shows some sort of a completion has been achieved. What type of completion we're going to see? But here we've been introduced to the idea that we are in this world for a purpose, and the purpose is to affect, to change, to inject holiness and purity and truth into time. We can say that since the language of the Gemara is that God sits and He fills the years of tzaddikim from day to day, so this is, and it doesn't say the shum tanayim, it doesn't say about the tzaddikim, limits of the tzaddikim. It says that He sits and He counts the days of tzaddikim from day to day. Doesn't say anything else about the tzaddikim, just that God counts their days. So Tzarech Lomer, we have to say, this is completion is by every tzaddik in spirituality. It's not just talking about big tzaddikim or so. Even those that pass away on a different day than they're born, which is majority, 99.99% of the tzaddikim do not pass away on the same day they're born. They're called tzaddikim of a movement, but it's understood, according to what we said before, that completion, wholesomeness of the service is when this is expressed in the physical. It's an additional completion. The completion is specifically when this is expressed not just spiritual, but also and physically. by the tzaddikim. This is the tzaddikim are called tzaddikim. They're complete, but it's a new sort of a new, what do you want to call it? A new feather in their cap, a new type of wholesomeness that's revealed when they are born and pass away on the same day. Shleimus, this was revealed by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It says that there's one opinion, Mount Omer, that in Nisan they were all born. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were born, and in Nisan they passed away. There's one opinion like that, etc. Where's that opinion? In the Talmud, in Rosh Hashanah, that they all passed away on Nisan. Another opinion says they were born in Adar and in Tishrei. But Nosaf, in addition to the years, were filled that they what's it? Nosaf the Shoshana Tov Hayu Maleim, 120 years old. They were all lived at least 120 years. Even since Shebiyotam Roy Yisrael, since they were the shepherds of the Jewish people, and especially Moshe, that Moshe, he was the ultimate shepherd of the Jewish people. He was exactly 120 years old, and he passed away on the same date that he was born. Like I said before, his years and his days were finished, were complete. Okay, so what's the point over here? We're stressing the physical world and time. Time and the physical world are very essential in Judaism. It's the goal of Judaism, to reveal what time really is, how holy it is, and what the physical world is in general. Although similarly, it is revealed by the second Rebbe of Chabad. Moshe, he was the Moses of his generation, that he is the day that he passed away, and the day that he was born on the same exact date. And what is this importance to us? We're going to learn, God willing, more tomorrow.